Matchday 4 in the UEFA Champions League has come to an end, and honestly, this week's games weren't all that exciting. So we're back with another tier list here. We have all 18 games from Matchday 4 down here, and we're going to rank them on this S to F scale. Taking a quick look, the only matches that really stood out in my opinion were PSG versus Bayern Munich, and Club Brugge versus Barcelona, Manchester City versus Dortmund. Those ones really stuck out. Those ones were really fun to watch. The rest were kind of just okay. But anyways, with that out of the way, let's start with the first match of Matchday 4, which is Slavia Prague taking on Arsenal. Now, this game ended in a 3-0 victory for the English side. It was pretty dominant from start to finish. I don't really remember Slavia having that many chances. Arsenal kind of took care of business from start to finish. They've been one of the best teams in the league phase so far, if not the best, and this game really showed why. Saka scored a penalty in the 32nd minute, followed by a brace from Marino in the 46th and 68th minute. They dominated on offense, they dominated on defense. They were just a stronger team from start to finish, and honestly, it wasn't even close in this game. So it was alright, but because it was so one-sided, I'm probably going to put this game into the C tier to start things off. Moving on to the next game of Matchday 4, it's Napoli taking on Eintracht Frankfurt. Now, I had really high hopes for this game. I thought it was going to be a high-scoring match. I thought Napoli would have a few chances. I thought Eintracht would have a few chances based on how the last 3 games that both teams have played have gone, and it ended in a goalless draw. So that was really disappointing. If we take a look at the stats here, Napoli obviously had more possession because they were playing better, because they were the home team. They had more momentum, but out of their 18 total shots, they only hit 3 on target, so that wasn't the best conversion rate. They missed pretty much all the big chances in this game. Eintracht Frankfurt didn't really do much with the ball when they had possession, so honestly, this game is kind of a write-off. I had high hopes for this one, but because it didn't really end with that many goals or that much action, it's going to have to settle for the F tier today. So the next game of the day was the marquee matchup between PSG and Bayern Munich. This is the game that everyone was looking forward to and everyone had circled in their calendars. And honestly, it was a pretty solid match from start to finish. So obviously we had Luis Diaz scoring a brace in the first half, and then he got sent off for his challenge at the very end of the first half. So the first 45 minutes of this game were filled with action from start to finish. Obviously, with one more goal from Neves in the 74th minute, PSG were trying really hard in the second half to mount a comeback. They had 86% possession in the second half, which is a crazy stat. And 19 total shots, 8 shots on target, but they could only generate 2 big chances. And unfortunately, apart from this Neves goal, they couldn't really do a whole lot else. I think this game lived up to the hype, but I think it could have been a bit better. I think with Luis Diaz going off in the first half, PSG should have been better. They should have used that to their advantage to get at least a few more chances and at least a few more goals. But honestly, all things considered, this was a solid match from start to finish, so I'm going to put it in the A tier for now. Moving on to another game that everyone was looking forward to, it was Liverpool taking on Real Madrid at Anfield. So this game ended in a 1-0 victory for the home side. It was all right. Like, Real Madrid were definitely putting on some pressure throughout the 90 minutes. They had more possession, but they didn't really do too much with it. Like, they couldn't really generate that many shots. The shots that they did end up taking didn't really trouble the goalkeeper that often. Liverpool were definitely better with the chances they generated in this game. As you can tell, they're 2.51 XG. They had 17 total shots, 9 on target. But I feel like apart from McAllister's goal, which is honestly pretty well set up, not a whole lot happened in this game. Like you would think for Liverpool versus Real Madrid, which is a Champions League final we've seen twice in the past decade, you would think that this game would have a bit more to it, but it was all right. Like, it was a little lackluster in my opinion. For that reason, I don't think I can put it as high as PSG versus Bayern Munich, so I think this one's going to have to settle for the B tier. Another game from Matchday 4 that I was really looking forward to was Juventus taking on Sporting CP. So this ended in a 1-1 draw for both teams. Juventus still don't have a win in this competition, which is actually insane to think about. They played 4 games and they still haven't won a single one. This one was pretty even, honestly. Araujo got the first goal in the 12th minute for Sporting, and then Vlahovic equalized in the 34th minute. That was a big goal for him. He definitely needs it right now, given how his season is going. Juventus were definitely the better side. They had 18 total shots, 9 shots on target, 3 big chances. Like, they were actually making an effort in this game to make it interesting. Sporting were kind of defending, they were holding back a little bit, and I feel like after the first goal, they kind of wanted to park the bus. So it wasn't the craziest game of all games that I've seen in the Champions League. It was alright. So for that reason, I think it's going to have to go next to the Arsenal game in the C tier here. One of the more exciting games from Matchday 4 was Atletico Madrid taking on Unión St.Gilloise in the Spanish capital. So this game ended in a 3-1 victory for the home side. Atletico are honestly pretty dominant in this game. I don't think many people would have touted Unión St.Gilloise to mount a comeback or mount an upset throughout the course of 90 minutes here. If we take a look at the stats, the home side dominated possession. They had 67%. They had 2.3 XG. 14 total shots, 6 shots on target, 3 big chances. There's no whole lot to say here, really. Atletico are just a better side. Union St.Gilloise did get one back in the 80th minute, but like at no point were they really threatening to make like a huge impact on this game. Like it was interesting for the last 15 minutes, I'll give you that, but I don't think anyone was expecting them to really come away with a win in this game. So it was all right. For that reason, I think it's going to have to go in the B tier as well. The next game to talk about was Tottenham's 4-0 dismantling of Copenhagen. So this game wasn't even close from start to finish. It was a 4-0 rout for the home side. That included a red card. Johnson got a red card in the 55th minute after a VAR check, and you would have thought that Copenhagen would have turned on the Jets just a little bit in this game. But they were really like lackluster. They were really passive. They didn't really do a whole lot with the chances they had. I do remember from this game, Mickey Van de Ven in the 64th minute pretty much ran the length of the pitch to get to the other side. Scored a beautiful goal. That was definitely the highlight of this match. But if we take a look at the stats, it was Tottenham from start to finish. 61% possession, 3.3 xG, 14 total shots, 8 big chances compared to Copenhagen 0. So Copenhagen continue to struggle in this tournament. I think Tottenham are finally getting their feet under themselves. They're starting to kind of show that they belong in this tournament. They're starting to play a bit better. For that reason, even though it was a 4-0 rout, it was pretty interesting in my opinion, so I think this one also is going to go into the B tier for now. One of the less interesting games of Matchday 4 was Bodo Glimt taking on AS Monaco. So this game had a lot of potential. I really thought Bodo would do better in this game, especially because they were playing at home, and the weather was pretty bad in this game, so it was definitely favoring the Norwegian side, but Monaco managed to come away with a 1-0 win in this game after a first half goal from Balogun in the 43rd minute. Bodo also got a red card in the 81st minute, so I think at that point any hopes of them equalizing this game or making a comeback were kind of out of the water. If we take a look at the stats here though, on paper they played pretty well. You know, they had 2/3 of the possession, they had 17 total shots, but they had so many good chances throughout this game. I remember watching this game and thinking like they could have scored here, they could have scored there, like they should have had at least 2 or 3 goals, but they missed the target by like inches at some points. So it didn't really do a whole lot. I know that Monaco were desperately needing a win in this game, and they got it with this one. Balogun got a beautiful goal in the 43rd minute to win this match. But overall, like, I think these two sides were pretty evenly matched, so it could have gone a bit better. I think there could have been a few more goals in this one, and because of that, because it was only a 1-0 win for Monaco, it's going to have to go into the D tier. Now, the final game of Tuesday night from Matchday 4 was Olympiacos taking on PSV. Now, this match ended in a 1-1 draw. Olympiacos were so close to getting their first win of this campaign, but they choked at the last minute. They conceded a 90+3 goal to Pepe in PSV Eindhoven, which meant they had to settle for 1 point. If we take a look at the stats here, PSV had more possession, but Olympiacos were, I think, a bit better on offense. They obviously only hit the target on 4 of their 18 shots, but it was a pretty close game. I think they could have had a few more goals in this one. I think PSV were pretty lackluster until the final 10 to 15 minutes of this game. So there was definitely an opening for Olympiacos to be better in this game to get at least a few more points. The second half, PSV turned on the Jets a little bit, but I think Olympiacos, this was their game to lose. Honestly, they should have gotten at least 3 points from this one, but so be it. That's how football goes sometimes. But because it was a 1-1 draw and because it took a stoppage time equalizer to make this game somewhat interesting, this one also has to settle for the D tier. Alright, so now we're moving on to Wednesday's matches, and the first game of Wednesday night was Qarabag taking on Chelsea. Now, this was an insane game in the first half and like the first 15 minutes of the second half. So Qarabag, they went down by 1 goal after Estevao scored in the 16th minute for Chelsea, and then they got a goal from Andrade and a penalty goal from Jankovic in the 29th and 39th minute. So for like 10-15 minutes going to halftime, Qarabag were leading this game against Chelsea, the Conference League winners, and I honestly couldn't believe what I was seeing. But then obviously Chelsea got a goal from Garnacho in the 53rd minute and the match ended 2-2. Honestly, the last 30 minutes of this game weren't anything crazy. I feel like both teams were kind of just settling for 1 point. But the fact that Qarabag held Chelsea to a draw is pretty insane in my opinion. Chelsea came away with 16 total shots. They had 4 shots on target. They didn't really miss any big chances because apart from their 2 goals, they didn't really generate a whole lot in this game. Honestly, Qarabag could have won this game if they had just found something in the second half. Found a spark to generate that last goal that would have pushed them over the edge. But nonetheless, this is an insane stat for them. This is a great result for them. I think Chelsea will be beating themselves up for traveling all the way to Azerbaijan just to come away with 1 point. But anyways, that's just how it goes. This game was honestly really fun to watch. I think this one is gonna, it's not S tier worthy, but it's definitely going into the A tier. There was another early match on Wednesday night, and that was Pafos taking on Villarreal. So this game, history was made. Pafos get their first win in Champions League history in this match with a 1-0 win over Villarreal with a 46th minute goal from Leverkusen in this game. I have no idea how Villarreal didn't win this match. If we look at the stat sheet, they pretty much dominated every single stat there was, but they missed a goal. They didn't get a goal that they needed to either equalize or win this game, so they had to go home with a loss. But they put up 1.77 xG, 18 total shots, 5 shots on target. If we take a look at the shot map here, like, they just had so many more chances, but it seemed like all it took was one good chance for Pafos to score their opening goal, and that was all it took to win this game. So it's a great result for the Cypriot team. I'm really happy that they got this win. But in terms of like action and in terms of like how enjoyable it was to watch, I don't think it was really that insane of a game. So for that reason, I'm going to put it in the D tier as well. The next game of Matchday 4 was Inter Milan taking on Kairat Almaty. Now this game ended in a 2-1 win for Inter. It was way closer than it should have been. I was honestly expecting Inter to score way more goals. I didn't think they would concede against Kairat, but that's the first goal they've conceded in the Champions League campaign this far. And it's Kairat's, I believe, second goal in their history. So a lot of storylines came out of this game. To be honest, the first 45 minutes before Lautaro Martinez's goal weren't anything too crazy, but once he scored that opener, it was honestly pretty interesting. After that, on the stat sheet, Inter dominated in every single capacity, like everyone was expecting them to. They had 2/3 of the possession, 2.12 xG. They had 23 total shots, 9 on target. Honestly, Kairat's goalkeeper in this game deserved man of the match because he was really good. He made a bunch of crucial saves. And honestly, Kairat didn't play as poorly as I thought they would. Like, I thought they were going to get blown out, but they played pretty well. In terms of the match itself and the match result, it was okay. It wasn't the craziest game I've ever seen, but it was like, it had its interesting moments. So for that reason, we'll put it in the C tier for now. Moving on to Wednesday night's marquee matchup, it was obviously Manchester City taking on Borussia Dortmund. So going into this game, I thought Dortmund were going to continue their crazy streak of form in the Champions League. You know, they've been scoring a lot of goals. They've had a lot of really interesting games, and honestly, I was expecting more of a performance from them, but Manchester City blew them out of the water from start to finish and ended in a 4-1 victory for the English side. A brace from Phil Foden, a goal from Haaland, and one last goal from Cherki in stoppage time. The German side just didn't really have the firepower in this game. They just weren't generating much. They felt like they were on the back foot. They were defending pretty much the whole time. It was honestly one of the more impressive offensive performances from Manchester City that I've seen in quite some time. On the stat sheet, obviously the possession is similar here, but as you can tell, 18 total shots from Manchester City, 11 of them on target. Dortmund, they just didn't have what it took to keep up with Manchester City in this game, which was honestly really disappointing because I feel like they've been performing pretty well in this campaign, and this just kind of feels like a big step back for them. So even though it was very one-sided, I really enjoyed watching this game, and for that reason, it's going to go into the B tier. The next game of Matchday 4 produced a result that no one could have anticipated, and that was Club Brugge and Barcelona playing out a thrilling 3-3 draw. So this game was insane from start to finish. There was lead changes, there was a bunch of goals scored, there was a bunch of moments of brilliance from both teams. This game had everything that you could expect from a Champions League game. Club Brugge opened the scoring in the 6th minute with Tresoldi, but then Ferran Torres got a goal 2 minutes later to tie it up. And then, Club Brugge went into halftime with the lead in this game. It was 2-1 at halftime, and then Lamine Yamal tied it up. Club Brugge got another goal 2 minutes later, and then with one own goal from Tolisso in the 77th minute, it ended as a 3-3 draw. Barcelona almost won the game in stoppage time, but VAR corrected an offside goal, I believe, and then it ended in a 3-3 draw. But if you look at the stat sheet, I have no idea how Club Brugge scored 3 goals in this game. They had 24% possession. They only had 6 shots on target. Barcelona were controlling possession, controlling tempo, dictating the game, but somehow, some way, the Belgian side found a way to not lose this game. So that was really impressive. Barcelona were probably feeling that they should have come away with from this game with a win, and they're going to be going home feeling like they dropped some points, but I still think they can finish in the top 8. I don't think this one result is going to put them in a playoff spot, but I guess we'll have to see. There's still 4 games left to go. But long story short, this was easily the best game of Matchday 4. I think this one honestly lived up to the hype completely, and for that reason, we're putting it into the S tier. So moving on to the next game of the day, it was Benfica taking on Leverkusen in Lisbon. This match was honestly a little lackluster. It ended in a 1-0 victory for Bayer Leverkusen, so that was great. that they finally got a win. But honestly, Benfica's shocking run in this competition continues. Like, they just have not been playing well. You would think that they would have so many chances to get points so far, but they just keep stumbling over their own 2 feet. On paper, they played pretty well. They had more possession. They put up 1.42 xG. They put up 21 total shots and 6 shots on target. So it's not that they didn't have chances in this game. They just couldn't capitalize on any of them, which is really unfortunate for them. But on the other hand, Leverkusen made the most of it, even with their 47% possession. They made the most of it. Patrick Schick got the goal in the 65th minute to win this game. It wasn't anything crazy though. I don't really think this game stood out in terms of all the other games from Wednesday night. So for that reason, it's hard to put this one in ranking, but I think we're gonna put it in the D tier for now. The other 1-0 result from Wednesday night was Marseille taking on Atalanta. Now this game left it until the very last play of the game when Samardzic got a goal in the 90th minute to give Atalanta the win. This is going to be a crucial result for the Italian side and a devastating blow for Marseille, who really could have used a win in this game for their league phase hopes to try and make it into at least a playoff spot. After this, it's kind of up in the air where they're going to finish, but if we take a look at the stats from this game, it was pretty close. Both teams had similar amounts of possession. Marseille had 15 total shots, only 4 of them hit the target, but then Samardzic got a crazy goal in the last few minutes of the game to give Atalanta the win. Was it luck? Was it skill? I don't know. It was a pretty nice goal, but I feel like Atalanta maybe shouldn't have won this game. I don't know. It depends how you look at it. But in terms of the match itself, you know, the second half was pretty interesting. Marseille were looking for a winner that they just couldn't get. But in terms of how all the other games went on Matchday 4, this one was okay. So I think because there was late last-minute drama, I'll put this game into the C tier for now. Moving on to one of the games that I was most looking forward to, it was Ajax taking on Galatasaray in Amsterdam. So Ajax have had a shocking start to this Champions League campaign. They went into this game at the last place in the league phase table, so they were 36th of 36, and I'm pretty sure they're still there after this game. They suffered a 3-0 loss to Galatasaray. Osimhen had a masterclass. He got a hat-trick in this game. He continues to be one of the best players in the Champions League this season so far. Honestly, I was not expecting him to play this well, but he's been tearing it apart. He's been really impressive. It's been a lot of fun to watch him. If we take a look at the stat sheet, the possession was pretty similar, but in terms of offensive firepower, Galatasaray dominated in almost every category. They had 14 total shots, 7 shots on target, 3 big chances. It just wasn't Ajax's day, but honestly, out of all the match days so far, this might have been one of their worst performances. They just have not been playing to the level that you would expect a team as good as Ajax to be playing, and maybe just Galatasaray finally found their stride after that win against Liverpool. So all things considered, this was a really awesome game to watch, so we're going to put it in the B tier as well. So the final game of Matchday 4 was Newcastle taking on Athletic Bilbao in England. So this game ended in a 2-0 victory for the Magpies. We had a goal from Dan Burn in the 11th minute to open the scoring, and one last goal from Joel Linton in the 49th minute to finish off the game. Athletic Club continued to struggle in this tournament. They got a win on Matchday 3, but they just have not been playing up to the standard that you would expect for their team. Newcastle are finally starting to hit the ground running. I feel like they finally found their form. They finally found their rhythm. And they're going to be... Honestly, I think they could be a playoff team. They might sneak into the top 8 if they're really lucky, but I think they'll definitely finish in the playoff spots for sure. If we take a look at the stat sheet, Newcastle dominated possession. But honestly, Athletic Club had a few good chances in this game. They had 12 total shots. They had 5 shots on target, but nothing like too threatening that Newcastle couldn't deal with. So it was okay. It was an alright game, but honestly, to finish out the day, I think I was expecting a bit more. I think if Athletic Club would have scored a few more goals in this one, it would have been a bit more interesting, but all things considered, it wasn't too bad, so I think we'll put this one in the C tier as well. So there you have it. We've ranked all 18 games from Matchday 4 in the UEFA Champions League. Now, obviously, some games were better than others. I think my personal favorite was Barcelona taking on Club Brugge. PSG versus Bayern was pretty good. Qarabag versus Chelsea was honestly the surprise of this match day. But the rest of the games were like okay. I honestly don't think it was as good as the games from Matchday 3, which I think has been the best matchday of this season so far. But with that being said, we've reached the halfway point of the Champions League campaign, the Champions League phase. We're obviously at the halfway point now with 4 of the 8 games being played. So let's take a look at the table real quick. This is where we stand going into the second half of the league phase campaign. Bayern at the very top with 12 points. Arsenal and Inter also have 12 points. Manchester City, PSG, Newcastle are somehow in a top 8 spot, but with 4 games left to go, we'll see how that goes. Barcelona are in a playoff spot. They're definitely going to be feeling that they need to win their next 4 games to secure a spot in the top 8. We have Chelsea, we have Dortmund, we have Atletico Madrid. Like, we have some pretty big teams in the playoff spots right now, but obviously there's still at least 12 points to play for every team, so things can definitely change. Pafos, with their win on Matchday 4, are now in a playoff spot. That's crazy to see that they have 5 points. Honestly, they could probably sneak into like 23rd, 24th by the end of the league phase campaign. Leverkusen are honestly starting to get a bit better. Club Brugge, honestly, they had their win against Atalanta or against Monaco on Matchday 1, and it's kind of been not great for them ever since. Napoli are honestly one of the teams that I feel like are being really disappointing right now. Like, I would not have expected them to be 24th with only 4 points after the first 4 games, but so be it. Another Italian team that's struggling is Juventus. They're 26th right now. And then, unfortunately, for Kairat, Almaty, Benfica, and Ajax, they're at the very bottom of the league table. Benfica and Ajax still don't have a single point, which is crazy to think about. After 4 match days, they're still looking for their first point, and Ajax have a minus 13 goal differential. So a lot has happened in these 4 match days, and there's still a lot to come in the next 4 match days, but for right now, your league leader is Bayern Munich. But what did you think of all 18 games from Matchday 4 in the UEFA Champions League? Which match was your favorite to watch, and did your favorite team end up winning? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more football content, tier lists, and everything in between, and as always, I'll catch you next time.